Hello. Guess what time it is? It's time for the pen to roll on my desk. No. It's time for a trial. As I mentioned, I believe the last time I streamed, I do seem to enjoy the trial segments more than the investigation parts. And we get to do trial today. Yay. Alright, so continuing with the adventure of the Cloud of Kokoro. Last time we spoke to Moon Man and his well-endowed wife. Maid, I mean. And yeah, that didn't really go anywhere. So yeah, Ryunosuke decided to represent Soseki. And now we're going to trial. And I don't know what the evidence is, because we really didn't turn up anything worthwhile in our investigation, so I don't know what we're gonna see here, so. But it's the trial. It's fun. And yes, my mic is on. So we're set to go tonight. Hope you all are... viewers are good. Out there, somewhere. Alright. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back in here again so soon? We are on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, we're getting plenty of that. Well, yes, I suppose that's true. But for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court. And it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning? Oh, okay, it's him. Defendant. Mr. Defendant. Ah, Mr. Mr. Natsume, good morning. Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. The other bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do all literary people take things so literally? I'm sure that's meant to be a Japanese pun. I mean, I do get the joke, but try to make a Japanese pun in English. I was like, okay. I mean, okay, I see what you're doing. See what you're doing there. Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble. Even though I am trembling. Really? Because I can feel tremors in the floor. I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Miss Suzato? I'm sorry, Miss Naruhodo. I'm not in the loop on everything that happens in the city of London, so I have no idea. Why are you asking me? So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Van Zeeks. Is that right, Miss Usato? Well, maybe it is. I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every one. He's very popular and very photogenic. Didn't you know that? I knew it. If people can take a photograph of him, that means he's not a vampire. That doesn't really help my case, though. Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now. In fact, until the day before yesterday. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zeek's return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Magnus McGilded. What a harrowing experience that was. And a very large hat he had. I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon, for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they are all speculating various answers. Mundane? It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the appearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. It's you! Me? Well, I suppose that's a common factor between the two cases. Both times it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper! Yes, we are best buds. Mr. Vampire Lord and I, from the student from Japan, we're best buds. Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. You're rivals. They could only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Oh, I was kind of hoping it was a friendly rivalry, not bad luck. Thanks for that, Susato. You're so inspiring, and you're so good at inspiring confidence in everyone around you. Oh, is it just my luck? Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? Mr. Soseki, have you used the toilet today? I'm just wondering, because you seem like you're very constipated. Why the least lucky lawyer alive? Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Right, so it's all your fault if I lose, right? Yes, it's true that I am just a student, new to London with little in the way of experience or skills, or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end. And I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. I'm here to believe you. Ghostbusters are here. I hope somebody got that reference. Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Nope. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant, Miss Mikotoba Esquire is... I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this, Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. I'll make your way into the courtroom and watch. Here we go. It was a reference to the Ghostbusters commercial they had in the movie. Although I think the actual wording was, "We're ready to believe you." That's all I was thinking of. Alright then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go. Yes! This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. I'm about to go toe-to-toe with a vampire. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. I'm ready. Let's begin the trial. Let's get to it. Trial time. Wait, is that? In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try and help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Suzaru-san. Yeah, you talk back to him. Go get him. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Kind of, sort of. Very true. And a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted, and his unfortunate, violent end. I do see a familiar face on the jury. Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? This guy. You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. Why is she on the jury? Oh God, I gotta do her voice again. I'm afraid to say I think it's quite possible that Mustache Foreigner did the deed. She should not be on the jury. Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway. Sorry? Didn't quite catch that. Very well. Let us proceed. Your opening statement, would you please, Lord Van Zieks? Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oaf they are. Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese. Hey, don't be like that. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Wait. The trial has not even started yet. Don't make a decision. Come on. Sorry? Didn't quite catch that. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hollowed chalice. Here in the great chamber, again. Don't worry, I have an entire box full of them right next to me that you cannot see. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Oh, is it going to be, Gregson? Yep, fish and chips man. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be? Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife. The victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now. She's been comatose ever since. A what? Nani? So we don't even know who she is for sure? That would be like the important information to have for the trial. To know who the victim is. Exactly. Comatose, I see. But her life is not in danger. Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the afternoon. Okay, that matches up with my notes. Okay. It happened on the pavement, running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not been long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. direction was she? Okay. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. We're presuming he may have stabbed her in the back. Presuming that. I'm not saying he did, just presuming. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared. She's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. Okay. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. It's a switchblade knife, okay. Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. I was about to say slay the poor woman. Like, yes, you'd be able to slay the poor woman. You'd be able to slay anybody, maybe. Even the scraggy-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. Jackknife, okay. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? We're actually getting into motive here. Okay. I'd like to see how they explain the motive here. From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have anything much worth pitching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment towards the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
Yes? Excuse me? If theft and grievance had been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Well, that would probably leave, you know, just... she was in the right or wrong place in the wrong time, and he was just... it was a crime of opportunity. You wouldn't necessarily need a motive in that case. Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Ow! Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. I hope I didn't injure anyone. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. Nani? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir. Yes, let's do some actual testimony here. Alright, so we got Gregson. Alright. Testify. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was unusually light fog. Alright, 5 p.m. light fog. Okay. Visibility was reasonably good. and there was no one else about the victim and the accused. Okay, so it says visibility is good, and no one but victim and accused around. Okay. But a defendant and the victim around. Okay. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. Dick stabbed from behind. And fell on pavement. Okay. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. The floor. You don't mean the road? Or the sidewalk? The floor? That's unusual choice of words you have there. So, defendant dropped belongings on floor. Okay. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. Okay. Items for books. And then on the way back. The defendant was on the way back from a bookshop. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. You're neglecting to mention that they had, Mr. Sholmes deduce that. I'm not mentioning that. So, I don't know how to summarize that last statement there, because it's kind of vague. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm gonna have to press on, because I already know that they asked Mr. Sholmes to help with that part. So they didn't determine it, Mr. Sholmes did, and then they made the arrest. Because we already had Mr. Sholmes already explained that already. I'm just gonna put they determined the book owner and arrested. Okay. For those not knowing, I'm actually taking notes here, because that's how I'm gonna do these trials. I'm gonna take notes here so I can have everything in front of me, so I can keep track of things here. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. Let me see, what do we got here? 1, 2, 3 books, okay. Knife in the back. He has a purse. Nothing jumping out at me right away, though. There's no blood, though. Oh, I skipped over the line. What'd you say? Oh yes, I can clearly see the books which you are referring. I will take the photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat, denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, just doing my job. Forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything as you put it. What are you doing, Miss Susato? Supposed to be helping me, supposed to be on my side. Do go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now that you mention it, yeah. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what all had happened. had all happened. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was. And just as I went to overtake her... Bam! Somebody shot a knife into her back. She suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed into the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran, as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings, which were just across the street. I didn't have to go very far. A green overcoat? Well, that's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing. Oh my! A photographic print in full color! What will the world come up with next? The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time. Just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes. Seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Before we do that, I want to look at the evidence we just got. Okay, a young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. Olive green, female, stout build, early 20s. Stout. Location, pavement of Briar Road. Reporting officer was Rolly Beat. Victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. Apart from a single stab wound from the large knife, no other signs of injury. Assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. So the reporting officer was Rolly Beat. We need to hear from him. Was he there at the time, or did he just appear after the stabbing? Because that would contradict with the assumption that there was no one else around at the time. Huh, okay, knife tip is broken off. Interesting. Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Miss Susato. I could never have seen that with my own two eyes. I wonder what could have happened to it. Yes, you don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you? Oh dear, I do hope not. Sounds terribly painful. So knife is missing a tip. Okay. Pretty sure it's the same knife, I think. Now there are 3 books. That matches up, I believe, with the receipt here. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 books. Okay. I still want to know where the bookshop is. I mean, I guess that'll come up in the trial at some point. Alright, let's proceed. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. A light fog, you say? Well, light for London. You could see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though. Okay. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yes. Not something I expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I've read that London is famous for its fog. Or smog, I mean. Or fog. But in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. Sometimes a smelly one, too. How quaint. Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. I see. At this time of the year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Was it a light fog? Indeed. The other day, I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. Suzao-san and I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen before we cross the street. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused. No one about but the victim and the accused.
Hold it!
How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. Yes, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he? That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. Mr. Beat. That is correct, ma'am. Then we must hear their testimony. In time, Naruhodo. In time. We will. I'm sure we'll get to them. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute. We're dealing with the inspector first. This guy. We'll get to the dude later. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen. I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas streetlights. Ah, what an amazing thing! I didn't remember that. The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means you really need to hear those witness statements. In time we will. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to... Eventually, yes, we will eventually. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. Although it did say witnesses, like plural, so I assume there's gotta be someone else besides the policeman.
Hold it!
Press. From behind, you say? That's right, as you can see from this print. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. With no blood, I would say. As you say, this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in a critical condition. Comatose, no less. I'm afraid so, my lord. Yes. She's being treated at Bart's. I was hopeful that she'd come around before the trial started so I could take a statement. but it wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Yes, it would be. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. In this case. Maybe. I don't know. I would like to hear her testimony, but... I'm just saying, more information is generally better. And let's see, stop squishing bugs on the bench there. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Thank you for adding that to the record. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid.
Hold it!
Mr. Natsume's belongings, I think you'll find this all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. I'm wondering if these are the same books in the receipt, though. That's what I'm kind of wondering about. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. Can you name the 3 books on the floor, Inspector? That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. Oh, well, ain't that a shame? The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand. Which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example. He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there. You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? Presumably. Presumably. That must be what happened, my lord. Yes? Number of old books just bought.
Hold it!
Do we know what the books are? The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The bloke's room is stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. Where is it? Right there, okay. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused lodgings is this place here, Bourbon Books. A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in the lodgings on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Unless he came around Calabash Road. He came from the other way, maybe. I mean, we're just presuming he came from Briar Road. Something like this. Presumably. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance, so we should add it to the testimony. Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being the bookshop's location. The crucial detail in what you just told the court, Inspector, is the location of the bookshop. I couldn't agree more. So, where is it exactly? He just showed you on the map. Rinosuke, why are you asking that question? Yeah? Oh, you winding me up, Sunshine. I just explained that. I got the map out and everything. Used red bloomin' ink. And drew the bloke's route home on for you. And I distinctly remember seeing you nod along, Counsel. Oh, yes. Yes, of course. I must have been so nervous I didn't take it in. That's not the question I was expecting you to ask. The blunder of the day goes to you, my learned friend. No, not yet. The trial's only just begun, after all. Mr. Naruhodo, I would strongly advise you look carefully through the court record at this stage. Yes, miss, at once, miss. Sorry I made a mistake, miss. I didn't know that was a mistake, miss. Miss. Inspector, continue with your testimony, please. Alright, so clearly there's something more here. I just... Oh, no, don't presume.
Hold it!
Oh, dang it. I wanted to look at my stuff again. Well, whatever. More record. Ah, okay, it's not that bookshop, okay. Your books, alrighty, okay. It's got the wrong bookshop. So where is your books? I'm not presuming your books is on Calabash Road. If it's on Calabash Road, that changes the direction the defendant came from. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? So I can shove my evidence in your face. I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe. Oh, well, you know. I mean, yes. Could be a very important clue. Very well. Not that I can see it being of any great significance. But please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could a man be any more sardonic? He was on his way home from Bourbon Books, a second-hand bookshop he apparently patronizes. I don't think I probably need to press him on anything else. Just a matter of working out. I mean, I would like to press him on this just to see, like... did you determine that on your own? Really? You asked for the help of the famous detective, Herlock Sholmes, to locate the defendant, I believe. Stuff and nonsense. Excuse me? Sorry. That jack in office, that busybody, just comes and sticks his oar in, whether we ask him or not. But according to what I have here, Mr. Sholmes was shown to have seen by Scotland Yard detectives. Well, that was nothing to do with me. The lads at the scene must have done it, without my permission. I tell them time and again, whenever something happens, send word to headquarters. Then follow your blooming instructions. I see. If that meddler gets his hands on any details, we'll all be reading it in Rant's magazine next month. And you can bet your last farthing that I'll be in there too, stripped of all my hard work on the case. Yes, Mr. Sholmes. No, Mr. Sholmes. Aren't you clever, Mr. Sholmes? That's all the things I'll be getting. Inspector. If the man is proving detrimental to the Yard's activities, perhaps I should step in and deal with him. Ah! It appears Inspector Gregson is lost for words. Yes, the Reaper's words carry a lot of weight, obviously. Anyway, the point is that little Japanese bloke's already admitted it. He's admitted that those books all over the pavement at the scene were the ones he bought that day. I don't want to hear about Mr. Sholmes anymore. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? If you're unable to sway the jury during this cross-examination, I'm afraid... Wait. I didn't do my thing yet. Give me a moment here. I wanted to see what he was going to say about Mr. Sholmes. That Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed? Yes, they're sure to find him guilty. Yes, I know. So one way or another, I have to expose an undeniable inconsistency in the inspector's testimony. Which I'm about to do. Now.
Objection!
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson? What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident, and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. And you found that in the accused room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume? Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Eh? What? Inspector, do you know this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that... Well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
A book lover would have known about it. He would have. But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Yes. But what difference it makes? It makes a difference in the location of the shop and what direction he came to his place, you know. It does make a difference. It's important. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection!
Objection. Yes, object to that. I disagree. I mean, after all, I have the street map here, if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, I was gonna get to that. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Could that be true? My. It rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. Did you? You didn't even know about the place beforehand. It turns out that Your Books is on Calabash Road. is just here, on the next corner of Meerschaum Street, going east. Alright. I mean, it's not really... It's not a super helpful location, but... it at least opens up the possibility that the defendant could have gone... west, or he could have gone south to get to his apartment. So it kind of opens up the possibility now. Because it's kind of like a 50-50 chance now. So... it opens up some doubt now. And doubt is what we need to sway the jury. And there you have it. As you can clearly see now. Oh. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus. You put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you, with a Suzato takedown. Yeah. I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused was coming home from your books instead of Bourbon books, he could still come this way. There's no doubt that he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Or he could have come down Calabash Road. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Whoever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Ah! As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try. What did I say, huh? I've had enough of this, so... Beg your pardon? Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't give up. What do you mean? The prosecution's assertion is correct. The members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. Ah, she's right, because, that's how it works in this trial. You should know that. You must think. You must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. The claim Soseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books, but... let me make sure I save before we get too far into this here. Okay. Alright, I want to review my evidence one more time here. So from your books, right there, I mean, the possibility, he could have come from this way. He could have come from this way. It's more like a 50-50 chance that he could have gone this way, or he could have came this way. Unless we can show that he had a reason to come this way, or there's some witness that can testify that they saw him this way on Calabash Road. Also note that the road here has no name on this road here, so Calabash Road has to be important somehow. Mr. Natsume. Pavement and Briar Road on the east side. I want to know how his books ended up all around her. Because, okay, well, let's say from his story, he had passed her, he was in front of her, then she was stabbed, he got spooked, he dropped his books, and she fell down. See, where she fell down forward into the books he dropped, or the books were picked up and placed around her at a later time. Now, if he approached her from the front, then yeah, he would have been spooked too. It would have been the same scenario. If he had stabbed her from behind, he would have dropped his books from behind her. Okay. There's really nothing in the evidence right now that would prove that he was on Calabash Road. But I think we just need to present the possibility that he could have came that way. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. He could have come that way, yes. If a defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way around. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Maybe he enjoys walking. Well, he wants the exercise. The answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime.
Objection!
I don't agree with that. It looks about the same distance. But... Aha, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I don't think the prosecution would agree with that. I don't expect them to. I've already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. Wow, thanks, Soseki, for not being helpful in that regard. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. Which would be awfully important things to remember, but whatever. I don't believe this! I thank you, my learned friend. And suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time but by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you insightful jurors? But even if that is the case, didn't let me finish my line. I agree with Lord Van Zeeks. Wholeheartedly, and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean? We members of the jury are completely convinced now. Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty!
Guilty.
Oh, that's her
Guilty.
voice.
Guilty!
Alright. Time for summation examination. It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably. Yeah. Mr. Naruhodo. Summation examination. Let's go. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Turnabout. Somehow. Those are the eyes of a quarry not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial. Rights of the defense written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with a summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his uncle's refusal to throw in his alley. That is a very odd statement. Okay. Didn't quite get that. Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Alright, here we go. Summation examination. Alright. For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he? Okay, so first one says, defendant admitted. If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim. Okay. Woman in green had to be victim. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful! I really don't care. Can we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. Okay, your statement was irrelevant. I don't know what to say to that. He has work. That's not really an explanation. Your books. Yes. Nice shop, that. But Borkman books? No, not worth a visit. Okay, so he has a better opinion of your books. Over Borkman books, okay. That's not really a whole lot to go on from that. With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. Well, not really in the case of juror number 5. He didn't really give a reason. He's just impatient, which is not a reason. When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself. Yes, okay. Has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already. Oh dear. Even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense? Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. Stop your pussyfooting and get to work. If you want to force the trial to continue... Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them, at least. Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward. You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Your SE. Yes, my lord. I just need to keep this trial going somehow. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke, you can do it. Alright, I guess I'm just gonna have to press everybody until we get something useful out of all of this, you know. Let me just kind of quickly review what they said. Okay. We can probably question number 3, because we don't know for certain if the defendant went the long way around or the short way. And press number 5, obviously, because he didn't offer an explanation. Yeah, that's about all I really have to go on right now. We'll just press everybody and see what comes up here. Excuse me, but aren't you... Yes, we know who he is. We don't need to... Yes, that's right. I was in a witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the sight of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Sorry? Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals. Oh well, you know, water under the bridge. Now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop. If I could turn back the clock... Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. And free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind, given our awkward history. Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now.
Hold it!
You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly, that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly, That funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit. But let us not forget, madame, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Why, of course he does. If he admits stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward. Honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes. But if that's a lie as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible? Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds? I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it. I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could possibly have committed this awful crime. If no one else could have done it, then the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple. Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit. Oh my, you are too kind, my lord. That went well, for her.
Hold it!
But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books. Oh yes, like you drew on the map, you mean. What was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. And at the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way it went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road. I'm supposed to be convincing you here, not convincing myself. I have given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone the Calabash Roadway, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. The reason why Soseki-san might have taken the longer way home. Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one.
Hold it!
Why are you on the jury?
Whatever's the matter, young man?
You're the wife of Mr. Garadev, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume in his room. We're not supposed to actually let people know about that, Fujinosuke, because we kind of said he wouldn't say she was his wife. She's supposed to be his maid.
The master's wife? Where'd you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid. The maid, you understand?
She's keeping up that charade? Oh, this is going to be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean.
Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone till the day of the trial, you see. It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice.
I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he?
Yes, that's right. Although he's only been in a little over a week now.
See, this kind of connection would automatically disqualify her from being on the jury because she's already familiar with the defendant. So she already would have a preconceived you know, idea of what the defendant is, so she really should not be on the jury. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This woman should not be on the jury. She already knows the defendant. It doesn't matter whether she would have a positive or a negative opinion of the defendant. The fact that she already has a preconceived notion of the defendant means she should not be on the jury. This should be an objection right here. And in that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this?
Oh my goodness me, yes. He's just the sort.
What?
Spending all his time in that dark and dingy room? Sporting that unscrupulous mustache? The man never speaks. And don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors are talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something.
No, I would like that stricken from the court record, please. That should not. We do not need to put notions that he's making bombs into people's heads here. Just strike that from the record, please.
Oh dear. Poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him?
Well, it's because of this thing called racism. That's probably why they're doing it. It's not that hard to imagine.
He's just a harmless bookworm, nothing more.
Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She said enough damning things already. Alright, now you. This is not a reason. Give me an actual reason. A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too, and so is my family's. Ah. Like you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do the wife and kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard. I go to a union every morning to find out what needs doing, and if you're late, and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk, it is. So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just around the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. You don't say. What? Another coincidence. That's right. Meerschaum Street it was. He was on Meerschaum Street. So did he actually see the defendant? Meerschaum Street. On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets. Juror number 5. I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir, it's important. Important. So, fine, I'll do it then. On the day it happened, I was digging up Meerschaum Street, from dawn till dusk.
Hold it!
So if I understand correctly, you're a day laborer, and you were doing road maintenance that day. That's right. Like I said, you get a lot of burst gas and water pipes underground in the middle of winter. So any time of year fellows like me can actually make a few bob. You're not missing out today. And when you say from dawn till dusk, well, the work has to be completed within the day, you see. No coaches or pedestrians can pass while it's happening. No coaches or pedestrians can pass on Mircham Street. So he had to have come down Calabash. I wonder if I could trouble you, sir, to mark on this street map the exact location of the works you were carrying out. Give it here, then. Let me have a look. Right, let's see then. Right there. Here we are, Mircham Street. Yes, it was just here, like. And it was a tidy dig, I can tell you. You had to get through all the drifts of snow that had frozen solid. And at what sort of time did you finish the work? Well, we started in the morning. We can't have finished before gone 6, I'd say. Snow had stopped coming down, but it was long past dark for sure. Really, the important thing here is that the street was basically closed from dawn till 6 p.m., so the defendant could not have gone that way. And I think we can probably use that on defendant 3. That means the roadwork was still going on when Miss Green was attacked at around 5 o'clock. Roadworks on Mircham Street, huh? Yes, no. We pit.
Objection!
Those two statements are clearly at odds with one another. At odds, counsel? Explain yourself.
Please, don't point. It wasn't me, I swear.
What? I just want to get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3?
Oh, me, sir? What do you mean?
Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of secondhand books. On the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Mircham Street, making it impassable, which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Mircham Street and down Briar Road.
Oh yes, of course. What do you think, sir?
Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? You must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So, the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings.
Yes, I suppose he must have.
I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. We see now that he had no choice.
Yes. My lord, Mr. Judd, sir, if I may.
Yes?
I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. What about you, sir?
Who? Me? Well, alright then. There's a hole in the prosecution's argument. Should be filled in. That's what I say.
That's 2. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful.
Well, we managed to change a couple of minds at least. has strengthened our position somewhat. Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if only... If we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy, that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume. We might be able to tip the balance completely, like a turnabout. Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. And I'm trying to do. Then Zeke's is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we had to prevent. By whatever means we have at our disposal. Thank you, Counsel. On with the Summation Examination, please. Yes, my lord. I have to say not guilty at this point, so I can see where this trial goes from here. Whether it's digging up the road or digging up the truth, you've got to see it through to the end, haven't you? Alright, let's see what old man here has to say. Sorry? Fold it, you say? Fold what? No, what I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question? Well, I was picking out books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. Just before 5, you say? So technically, I guess he's more of a witness than a jurist in this case. Or before 5. Are you sure about the time? Oh yes, no mistake here. There, I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had. Oh, do please tell us. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and dunked my head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up. Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road. That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant. Sorry? Extremely sick? No, I'm quite alright now. You changed 2 of the jurors' mind, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, there's 2 more to go. Deliver the finishing blow now. It's time to turn the tables here. Wish I knew how to do a Suzato takedown. I suppose words will have to suffice for now. Yes. I think there's a possibility we might be able to... Actually, I don't know. I slipped over that evening myself on Calabash Road. I knocked myself clean out, you know.
Hold it!
And that was around 5 o'clock, you say. The same time as the victim was attacked. I don't know anything about the girl who was stabbed, but my dinner's on the table at the same time every day. And for the record, could you please identify the precise location of your fall? Goodness, it was aeons ago. Not sure I can remember. It was 3 days ago. Try dredging your memory. Please. Well, let me see. It was especially slippery around about... Oh yes, I remember now. It was just on the corner here. What happened to you then? Were you alright? Well, you don't get too many people down Calabash Road, you see. He has a green coat on. I just noticed that. And he has the same figure as the victim. Okay, I see where we're going now. So there was no one around when I fell. No one around when I knocked myself out. No one around when I came to again, and no one around when I sneezed. So I picked myself up and went back to my nice warm house where my grandchildren were waiting for me. A sad and lonely picture you paint, sir. You were fortunate not to have frozen to death. Yes, how lucky that he wasn't more seriously injured. True. Looks like it was very nearly another hospital admission or worse. Ah yes, one more thing. Were you wearing that same green overcoat on the day in question? Absolutely. It's the only coat I have. It took until this morning to dry out properly. Good job, too, or I'd have had nothing to wear here. So count your blessings, I say. Ho ho ho. I suppose we should. This gentleman certainly had a close shave there. Okay, so I need to figure out how to proceed from here. Let me just do a quick save. Alright, so what I need to do now is show the possibility that it could have been this guy that the defendant saw that day. Because, yeah, the victim and him do bear a striking resemblance in their dress and figure. Now, the only problem with this is that it doesn't explain how the books ended up around her. Unless they're actually her books. Which would make sense, and not the defendant's books. But then again, it doesn't really explain where the defendant's books went. Because it's quite possible she was killed on Briar Road, and nobody else was around. Alright. If I pit him against this lady, because she thinks the person in green could only have been the victim. let's give it a shot.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning. A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel? Well, juror number 2? Juror number 6? Whatever do you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There is at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. He then returned home on foot. But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. Yes, we are all aware of this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously.
Objection!
Can we really be sure of that, madame?
Whatever do you mean?
I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim, who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood.
Oh my. My goodness. You mean?
That's right. I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6.
Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench here with me today?
That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim. Well, look at that.
My goodness me. Sorry? You need a pee?
And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell.
On Calabash Road.
Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly, the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home.
Oh my!
You idiot, old man. If you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming around there, we'd have boxed this off hours ago.
And really, what were you thinking, wearing such a befuddling coat?
What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days? Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat? Is it?
Hold it. My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but...
You like to change your leaning, I presume? Ugh.
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty.
Thank you.
And I would too.
What?
Is it a crime to change your mind? Is it? Well...
I'm going first. Well, that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The eyes, 2. The nose, 4. So the nose have it. Not guilty, they say. which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. But trial will continue.
Objection!
Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hollow chalice moments after raising an objection, only to crush it in disgust? Pray forgive the discourtesy. I have many, many more. Lord Van Zieks, it seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. Eh? Whatever do you mean?
Objection!
I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed, stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir. That's right. It took me the whole day. They paid me a measly tuppence for it. Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me, do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters, that's not much at all. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Now. Juror number 5 already stated that the road was closed and nobody could have passed. He was there the entire time. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had hope of passing anyway. And we just turned any gentlefolk back when they came. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see, and clearly not a child either. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town. We're really stretching to some presumptions, like speculation here, Lord Van Zieks. I don't think the speculation is enough to really hold up in court. Here.
Ah. Is that true? Is it?
The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. No, now you're saying he walked down it, but you were just trying to make the assertion that he jumped down Briar Road. Which is it, Lord Van Zieks? Did he walk down it because he couldn't walk down it because the road was being worked on? And then you're trying to claim that he could jump over the road and carry 3 books at the same time, by the way, without, juror number 5 noticing him jumping over the road. I don't think your argument really holds up. I'm just saying. There's some flaws here, but we can't really... It doesn't hold up to logical scrutiny here. Crushed in a single sentence. Oh no, whatever shall I do? And old man. Cold man? You can talk. You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time? Oh, I can't say I remember. You don't remember? How about a wager my learned friend. You say it was this old man that the accused saw. But I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Arr! Order! Order! Lord Van Zeeks, explain yourself. My lord, if you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the Summation Examination? I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What are you talking about? I wasn't on any tour. My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. Its next witnesses? Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. You didn't forget already, did you? Yes, I remember, one of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. Alright, no matter who Van Zeeks brings to the stand as his next witnesses, and no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent, and I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over. Is that the end? Okay, no. Yeah, okay, I still got time. I'm good. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. What the hell was that? Okay, I don't know if that showed up on the mic. I think my AC is having an issue. Hopefully it won't make any racket like that. Anyway, yeah, I need a new page of paper now. Because we got more testimony. Ah, yes, this police officer looks like he's in tip-top shape to be providing testimony. Constable Royally Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir.
And I'm Mrs. Beat. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town hero's wife.
What's the story here?
Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day.
No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired, or not really here. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually. Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that meters are reading true, and they're responsible for keeping the streets clean, lighting and extinguishing our streetlights. Really, they really should be paid more, because they're doing the job of like 3 or 4 people. There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For a London bobby is a man of honor. And a man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat?
That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly?
Constable Rolly Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir. What a great witness he's going to be. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir. And please wake the fuck up.
It was our wedding anniversary, and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There's no time to change after work.
Okay. Wedding anniversary. No time to change.
Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box.
Where is this police box, I wonder? Let's see, ran over, and then went to police box. We definitely need to inquire about that.
It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him as clear as day.
I don't think so. It was definite. Saw him clear as day. Which I don't think so. Because the only way they would have seen him clear as day is if they were like very close to him. And apparently they already saw him run away. So they could not have seen him clearly unless they were like really close to him. Because remember, there was fog. Light fog, but there was still fog. And it was dark. So I don't think they would have had a clear view of him. So I question that statement. Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. Because I'm supposed to say that.
Oh dear. This policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene.
Well, technically, only Patricia is claiming this. We haven't actually heard from Rolly. He didn't technically testify.
If her testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the Summation Examination will be quashed.
It's death knell, in fact. Because that alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate chancing. And on your wedding anniversary, too.
Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London bobby sounds very hard indeed.
Indeed, however. This cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon.
What do you mean by that?
My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. I would if the policeman actually would testify, but he didn't testify. Except that the man's so tired his wife has to do all the talking. Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense, commence the cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. All right.
Hold it!
No time to change after work, you say. Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Beale? Mrs. Beatty? Mrs. Beat? I don't know whether to pronounce that as Beatty or Beat. Beatty? 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 Oh, I'm just gonna say Beat.
Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply.
Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do a job, can't you?
Mr. Mianosuke, you're being way too progressive. It's too early in time for that. I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down the ground, doesn't it, darling? Say something, please.
What? I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to his station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy.
Oh no, Rolly. I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy.
Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct?
That's right, sir. Yes, although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end.
What are you holding? What is that? What's that now?
My warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it. As a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. To patrol the streets of London, town, and uphold the peace of the common law. Sir, and for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure.
So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then.
But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, Pat. Oh, really? Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold.
If a little over the top, perhaps. And then, kindly describe what happened next.
Hold it!
Two silhouettes.
That's right. They were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction.
Road in the opposite direction. So they would have had been walking this way? Okay.
There's a rather plump figure followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim as pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsume.
Yes, unfortunately it does. And you're certain that, at that time, there was nobody else nearby?
Oh yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there are streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There's nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling? Say something, please.
Well, yes, that's right. Of course, there was a light fog on the ground, but Briar Road is dead straight, and you could see a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's the street lighting as well. I didn't see any other pedestrians. Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer, please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you just said? Yes, sir. As a copper who spends all day, every day, keeping watch on the streets, I swear to it, sir. I'm sure, as my love for Patricia is true. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rowley.
They're still maintaining that retaining. There was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened.
It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run.
Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly. Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed?
Hold it!
Scattered something. What do you mean by that?
Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? Speak up, please. Say something.
What? Ah, yes, that's right. It was some old books. I see. Old books. Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped a number of them, all around where the victim lay in the pavement. Indeed, as clearly pictured in this photographic print.
That rotten Japanese man did what he did when he did the deed. Did that when he did the deed.
Hold it!
Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker.
But we saw him. It was a man in the dark without question, sir. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose, everything. Any more insults you want to throw in?
That's right. He looked down at that poor defenseless woman with those terrifying intense eyes. And then he suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away.
I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here. But why would the defendant have thrown his books down? He didn't drop his books. She said he threw them down, meaning it was intentional. that's kind of getting my attention. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please, continue. Yes, sir! Went for help at a nearby police box. Where is the police box at? Was it your husband who went to fetch help?
No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling?
Say something.
What?
Yes, that's right. I asked Mrs. Beat to go. I was off duty by that point. But Bobby's never truly off duty, so, of course, I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance. That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box. Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box? It depends on a crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia of a way to the police box for the beat the incident fell under so she could go and report it.
I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know.
And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of two model citizens.
Oh, please, you're making me blush. Isn't he, darling?
Say something.
Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir.
Let's move on, shall we?
Hold it!
But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you?
We absolutely could. Us loners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know.
Right.
The light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he?
No, he technically didn't. Yes, and what of the fog? We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. But it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is. And when it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm.
Yes, alright, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about?
The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was that little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? Agree with me, please. Come on.
What? Yes. It was the accuser, no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snubs and nose. Unmistakable, sir. As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? And that's their entire testimony. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they say they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony. Oh no! Then what do we do? If Kazuma-sama were here... What are you trying to say? That I'm not as good as Kazuma? Come on. I think you would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling back the question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate. Oh, right. Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Like a game over. Why do I always seem so up against it?
Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something?
Oh, yes, of course. What is it?
Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right? Is it? Well, out with it.
Nani? No. Well, no, it's really not that at all.
My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything, like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped?
Yes, please tell me that. That would be great.
I could tell you the names of every single one I could. Every single one. And I'm not sure I'm correct. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is.
That will do, Mrs. Beat.
No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rolly will.
I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fist down. Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. Beat. Might that appease you?
Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? You're supposed to answer. I could even tell you the names of the 4 books he dropped at the scene.
The 4 books. Please tell me about the 4 books he dropped. I'm curious what the names are. Yes, we know that there were books dropped at the scene of the crime, as you say. Those purchased by the accused at the nearby second-hand bookshop on the day in question.
After I'd been to police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the area for good measure. I am a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Rolly.
And what was your husband doing at the time?
Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. He works ever so hard, you know. Ever so hard. Don't you, my darling?
Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime. Well, Mrs. Beat, seeing as you've regaled the court with tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind as to recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene?
I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? Alright, here we go. There was the picture of Monsieur somebody or other, and what's it yearnings?
Picture of Monsieur Lecourt's Canterbury yearnings?
Then there was a meal for someone, and the last one was definitely the Thingamy's something.
You have such an excellent... I don't know why I expected better. But... she has kinda described 3 of the books here. But the 4th one was not Mr. Natsume's book. And the picture only showed 3 books, so I'm kind of... So there's definitely something here to go on. Let's see where this goes.
You see?
Yes, I see there are 1 or 2 holes in your memory.
Oh well, they were along those lines, I'm quite sure.
There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it.
Well, what did I tell you? So I think it's very mean the way you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling? Agree with me.
Anyone who upsets my Patricia will have to answer to 2.
Put your pistol away, please. Terrifying. Yes, she really is. Well, the contradiction of she said she saw four books. And only 3 books were found at the scene. So, that's the one we gotta hit her on. There's only like 3 books there.
Objection!
So, you're saying that there were 4 books?
That's right. I remember all of them. The picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's It Yearnings, A Meal for Someone, and The Thingummy Something.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. But there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours.
Oh no. What flaw?
Simply that at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4.
What?
Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see, there were only 3 books.
But no, that can't be. I saw them. Oh, I know what it is. Yes, you can't fool me.
Sorry?
It's that big old lump of a dead body. The lady's so large, her corpse is blocking the view of the 4th book, that's all.
Well, let's at least try to remember that the poor woman isn't dead, even if we're insulting her size. No, I'm sorry, Mrs. Beats. But Mr. Natsume could not possibly have dropped the 4 books you describe.
Why not?
We have the receipts. Fascinating. And from your assured tone, something you can readily substantiate with evidence, I presume. Yes. Evidence. Yes, an important thing. Counsel, you will present evidence to substantiate your claim or withdraw it. What proof do you have that the accused did not drop 4 books? I have his receipt. The evidence is right here, in the form of this bookshop receipt. From your books. Yes, this receipt details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. However, I do want to say before we proceed, that this receipt does kind of confirm that his books were at the scene where the victim was stabbed. So, they could make the argument that this other book, 4th book, was a book that the victim had. So, I don't know if this is... I mean, this is not going to fix the case in our case, but we'll see what happens here. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed.
No.
Therefore, Mr. Natsume would have only dropped 3 books at the scene of the crime. Which means that your powers of observation, madam, cannot be relied upon. Grr. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken.
Oh no. Oh no, no, no. No!
Objection!
It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these two witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well but you have no hope of disproving. Ah. So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? He sees right through me. But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. Oh. You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books. Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print. That print? You mean to say... Allow me to present another. One that shows the victim's hand. The lion's pride? Also, is it just me, or does it look like somebody took a bite out of the book? It's like part of the book is missing. I don't believe it. It's the 4th book. As you will observe. The 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. No. No. But that's not the book's name she claims it was. Order, order.
There, you see? You see? Look at that. Look, look, look.
Yes.
It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling?
Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir. Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please. Yes, see, I knew exactly who was going to go for this.
Oh yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other.
The picture of Monsieur Lecoq.
What's it, yearnings?
Canterbury yearnings.
A meal for someone.
A meal for Gabriel, in fact. Oh, I'm hearing a helicopter passing overhead. That's what I'm hearing. It's like, what am I hearing? Oh. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. B's powers of recollection could only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment.
Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia's flawless. But there were only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print. I'm sorry, Counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the fourth book be omitted from the receipt? It's odd. It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. The victim was holding her own book. I wonder, what became of that fourth book? Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here, as evidence. You will submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, Counsel. My pleasure, my lord. The prosecution rest. I have nothing further to add.
Nani?
You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer route to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I? Yes, you did.
You see? Everything we said is true.
Except for that fourth book title. I want to hear you say that again.
Isn't that right, my darling?
Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat.
So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Before we do that, let's look at the book here. Question. The Lion's Pride. Okay. Lion's Pride. Oh yeah, there definitely is a part of the book missing. Oh, it looks like it burnt off. There's a section of the book burnt. Let me see. It's a book entitled The Lion's Pride. I'm afraid I don't know any English literature. Wait. Did this book come from that dude's apartment? The one that got set on fire? Interesting. So it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I have heard of a book by that name before. And very recently, too. It's a title I recognize too, Miss Naruhodo. Because it probably came from that dude's apartment. Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt. You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state. Especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. A book. Recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me? So I'm wondering. Okay, well, if we presume the book must have come from the dude's apartment, how did it get out into the street? Because the dude's apartment is over here. He's on the top floor. How did the book get out of there? And end up down here? Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position.
I know, but
if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse.
think, Rinosuke, think. What would you do now? I'm gonna save. That's what I'm gonna do. I wanna... Hold on. I wanna know what book was Patricia talking about? Investigation. Oh, I can't go back far enough to see that. I'm pretty sure the title wasn't... It was a thingamajiggy something. Yeah, it was something like that, which wasn't really the title of the book. Should I raise an objection? Well... Yeah, sure. Do it.
Objection!
Because we have to do something. I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend. It's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense. And you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate.
Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Van Zieks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point.
Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed. For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this.
Oh?
I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential, and her opinions invaluable.
Mr. Naruhodo.
One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance. So the court will hear you, madame. Go ahead, Miss Susato, please. Do my job for me. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. She is correct. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think?
I agree. Because, Baron Van Ziek presented new evidence after the cross-examination was over, so we have yet to determine if the evidence is relevant to the trial, because it was presented afterwards, so we didn't have any time to determine its relevance to the testimony.
It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. Like you just did.
Yes, I understand, and thank you, Miss Susato.
This is it. Suzawa-san has managed to win us one last chance here. So don't F it up. Can't let it go to waste.
The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case, and has hitherto been overlooked. The book.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book, found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hetero undiscovered clue. The burn on the back of the book? So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear? Oh, yes, my lord. It's, Mr. Naruhodo. The way the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence. Which means, you may very well be on the right track. Yes, I think you may be right. So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case, which this fourth book conceals? That has been burnt on the back?
Got it!
I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What do you... Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say. And what of it, my Nipponese friend? Oh? Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day, pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? A charred book. There is just one possibility here that I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage the sorry tome has suffered? Well, I don't believe it was sold at a shop because it's burnt. The content is not really important, so I'd have to determine its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner. I beg your pardon. But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor. After all, it's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to, and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers. Good gracious, how can you possibly... Very well. I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry. Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcomes of this trial. So tell the court, who you claim is the owner of this burnt book? John Garradeb.
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garradeb. The landlords. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garradeb herself.
Oh my goodness, me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garradeb's wife. I'm his maid.
Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Had you ever seen this book in Mr. Garradeb's house?
I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say? You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garradeb's house. Good Lord. What sort of incident, counsel? A fire, my lord. Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it, I lost my favorite book, called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride. By Jove, the very same title that's the subject of this debate.
Oh, dear me.
Objection!
This is risible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was martial discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garradeb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garradeb even amid the flames.
Oh, how awful. I can't imagine being so hard to the one you love. Can you, really?
Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia and I'll never raise a finger against me, sir.
Had all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There I was, back up against the window under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books coming 10 to a dozen. So did she probably throw it out the window, maybe? The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No, a thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there is no report of the Garradeb's window pane being broken. That's quite true. He also saw no signs of broken glass when we visited the Garradeb household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time in... Not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter. Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found that the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garadeb's wife? I believe it's a possibility, my lord. I mean, it's enough to create some doubt.
That's good enough.
Is it sure? Yes, okay.
Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward.
Really?
Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight. Honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? There's nothing to do with this beastly case. Not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name.
No, I assure you, that was never my intention.
Dragging up upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears. That's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable.
Too right. Here we go. How long have we sat here, listening to this Nipponese spouting out his fancy foreign theories? But, think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache. And he ran away from the scene, too.
I do declare you're right. It's true. Yes. What did I tell you?
Makes sense to me.
Sorry, what's that?
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Benzeeks? In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage. No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... Here's my boot. If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time, as you study the bottom of my boot. What? No, forgive the discourtesy this time? In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Well now. Thank you for that unambiguous response. That's twice now. It's over. Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up. Miss Susato, have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting... Of course. The defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve. I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. Okay, good. We're at the end. Alright. Trial time is always so fun. And I got through without a single mistake that time. Technically, without a single mistake. Alright. Okay. Alright. Yes, I'm going to stop there for tonight. We're just about at the 3-hour mark, so. I still don't quite have a clear picture of what has occurred yet, but I think it's slowly starting to come together here, so. So we still don't really know whether Mr. Soseki really is the killer or not. I mean, we have to assume he's not. I mean, it's kind of obvious here, so we don't really know who the actual killer is yet. I suspect that weird actor dude, or whoever we saw a moment ago, probably is the guilty party in this case. So I just have a feeling. It's him, because he comes off like a Ace Attorney villain. So, but all right, I'm having fun. I always have fun with the trials. The trial parts are the best for me. So anyway, that's gonna be it for tonight. I will continue this later. Have a good night. Hope you enjoyed watching. Bye-bye. See you next time.